Hi, I'm Phil, and I'm here to share with you my experience of living with end-stage renal failure. You can't really talk about kidney failure without talking about dialysis. And there's two types of dialysis. The one that I do is called hemodialysis, and that's where my blood's pumped out of my body through lines in a machine where it's cleaned up and has a few things added and then pumped back into my body. So it's doing the job, the machine is doing the job that my kidneys are no longer able to do. I do this 3 times a week for 4.5 hours each time. But that's not the only time commitment. Before I start, I need to line and prime the machine and then get connected to it. And then after the 4.5 hours, I disconnect from the machine and clean up. So each session is about 5.5 or 6 hours. So that's quite a big time commitment, but of course it's keeping me alive, so I can't really complain about it too much. So what I want to start today is just a series of videos to show you what I do for each of those sessions, for a normal session. I mean, sometimes things don't go to plan and it might be a bit different, but these videos are all recorded on a day when it went pretty smoothly, as it usually does. Before we kick off though, I do need to say that there are some points where there are needles and blood, and if you're a bit uncomfortable with that, I will give you a warning. It's not in all the videos, but it is a necessary part of hemodialysis. So yeah, so I'll warn you before that happens anyway. One of the most important things when it comes to dialysis is hygiene. Before this video was recorded, I'd already washed my hands in soap and water, and now I'm using an alcohol disinfectant just to be sure. The next thing to do will be to wipe down the top level of the trolley. I use this trolley to hold stuff that I need to reach while I'm on dialysis. The top level that you can see here is for stuff I'm going to need during this session. The second level is for things I need each session, so they're easy to reach when I'm setting up. The bottom level of the trolley is full of stuff that I might need if something goes wrong, so obviously I really don't want to access that level of the trolley. On the other side of the trolley is that yellow sharps container, which is where any glass or needles are disposed of to make sure no one gets cut. Finally, I add a couple of rubbish bags to the trolley. The black one nearest us is just for wrappings and general rubbish for the landfill. The yellow one on the other side is for anything that has my blood in or on it. Along one wall of my office, I store the consumables I use for dialysis. I call gathering what I need for each session, doing my shopping. And the first thing I collect before starting dialysis is the actual dialysis fluid. This is important because it contains chemicals which may be missing from my blood. Potassium is a good example. The prescription for dialysis fluid I use changed a couple of weeks ago because the level of potassium in my blood was too low. When I come to place the fluid on the machine, I hang it from the hooks at the back because it allows for a better flow of fluid. Then I connect it directly to the machine using the red tube at the front of the machine. There's also a seal to snap open, but I don't do that yet. The next thing I collect is bicart, which is basically sodium bicarbonate in a container, which I connect to the opposite side of the dialysis machine. Once the machine's going, fluid will flow through the container from top to bottom and pick up this sodium bicarbonate to add it into my blood. The next thing to attach to the machine is the dialyzer itself. We'll eventually connect the blood lines so that my blood will flow through the dialyzer from the top to the bottom, and the dialyzer will then do its best to remove any unwanted chemicals. The next thing we do is attach 2 saline bags to the machine. The first bag can be used in a few different situations. Usually it's only used to rinse blood back into my body at the end of dialysis because some of my blood remains
in the lines, and we need to get it back into my body. As you can see, sometimes they can be a bit problematic getting out of the wrapping. Not sure what I did there to have to take it off again, but these things happen. So you can see the little blue tag at the bottom I'm tearing off. That's where we'll plug the bloodlines into a bit later. This bag is only used to build up the pressure in the bloodlines when we're priming the machine, so that when eventually the machine's attached to me, there's sufficient pressure there to push the blood around. Bloodlines are next, and attaching them is the point at which we connect everything together. There are lines with red fittings, which are the equivalent to the arteries in my body, and lines with blue fittings, which are equivalent to the veins. When we open the bag, we need to just make sure all the clamps are closed and the fittings on the end are tightly screwed on. Occasionally something will come loose. And if we leave the clamps open, we end up spilling saline everywhere, because the caps on the end of the line are great for keeping bugs out, but not so much for keeping saline in. Okay, so this is where I said we were going to screw the bloodlines into the saline bags. So this is the one to build the pressure up in the machine. Here I've already put the line into the blood pump on the right there, and I'm just connecting it to the dialyzer. The blood pump's what's used to push the blood or pull it out of my body, around the system and back into my body. One of the things that's quite important with setting up the dialyzers, try not to get the lines tangled. So when I turned the dialyzer back around the other way, it was because the lines were getting a bit tangled. And you can see I pushed the red lines as much as possible over to the right side. All right, here we see the blue one, blue lines, the bag that's secured to the top had come undone, so hence you need to check these things. Just do the clips up. There's 4 clips on each that need doing. We don't actually need to attach the blue lines directly into a saline bag because it's got a bag of its own, which will fill up in time. Here we go, attaching it. Now the blue line has got a what looks like a test tube on it, and what that does is detects for air in the blood lines, which of course we don't want to get into my body. We just need to plug that in to its fitting, and then we connect to the dialyzer. Right, the blue line's done. All right, and the saline line. This is one I forget every now and then to close that roller clamp, and saline goes everywhere. So we're going to attach this to the first saline bag we hung up, which, if you remember, is used to push my blood back into my body at the end of dialysis. And sometimes we have to do that if I get low blood pressure, but that hasn't happened for quite some time. So we'll just attach it to the red lines, and then we'll be done. All right, that's the blood lines completed. I try and remember to throw my rubbish away all the time.
Thanks for taking the time to watch this video. If you enjoyed it or found it interesting, I'd appreciate it if you could hit like. If you want to know more about what it's like living with end-stage renal failure, then go ahead and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.